everybody, it is Romania Black, and we are on episode 10 of Bocchi the Rock. Yeah! Okay, I'm so excited. A new layout, new episode of Bocchi the Rock, and we have a lot of new comments that we need to go over, so we need to dive into that before we start this episode. So I have a lot of comments. I have one from episode 7, and then I have a numerous amount from episode 8. Because it was the rule of 8, and it deserves to have a lot of comments that come after it, right? So with episode 7, I Hate Piano, says every one of the episodes has a parody of some sort. Now, we had debated back in episode 6, like, there's been a lot of Nausicaa, Valley of the Wind references, and they pointed out in episode 7, the children's song that plays in the background was meant to be Nausicaa Requiem from Nausicaa, Valley of the Wind. Okay, so in episode 7, there's a child song that plays during that episode, and that's from Nausicaa, which last episode, we even had, like, the poster showing up, so this series has not shied away from its references. Alex Cornejo, I love the way Alex worded this, saying, the title drop, it's almost biblical. Najika said unto Bocchi, you shall no longer be called Hitori Goto or Lonely Goto, but Bocchi the Rock, the Lone Rock, shall be your name. And upon this rock, I will build my band. I love that Najika has been the founder of the band, but Bocchi has become the foundation, and I am living for it. I am living for it. So thank you, Alex Cornejo. I really appreciate that comment. CD, along with Kelvin, but we'll get to Kelvin's comment here in a minute. CD said, the first thing I want to say has to deal with the first song they played where they were not playing well. The actual musicians playing the song did it somewhat poorly for realism. Also, a friend of mine who's a guitarist talked to me about the accuracy and the animation of the band playing their instruments. He talked about this in the episode in particular, where he was able to use the animation and his ear to recreate the guitar parts where they zoom in on Bocchi. That's freaking cool. And one thing I really appreciate about this show, because it is a comedy, like it's a dark comedy as Bocchi the Rock, but the fact that they get everything so correct in terms of the realism, in terms of the guitar playing, in terms of the messing up part, which we've got another person's comment that I'm going to address with that. But I appreciate all of the tiny details that the series uses and makes correctly for the audience, especially people that are musically inclined. Like, that's so cool. And I love that. So I'm super impressed your friend was able to recreate it just by watching. That's insane. So Kelvin, for episode 8, says, regarding the bassist's name, her given name is Kukuri, which means chrysanthemum, a kind of flower, also reason and logic, which is hilarious because that has nothing to do with her character. Her name also apparently translates to village, but I doubt that her parents had that meaning in mind. Hey, who knows? You know, it takes a village, so it takes Kukuri. I also am glad that you said that because Hiroi was really hard for me to say, so Kukuri is so much easier. So I was like, okay, that much easier name to say, so thank you. Also, the second song, which is our second in anime Kasoku band song, is named Ano Bando, which is the band. This was also the unnamed song that Bocchi played during her street performance with the drunk bassist who we now know as Kukuri Hiroi in episode 6. I like that we finally tied back and gave that unnamed song a name, and that it's the one that Bocchi played to get everybody back in the beat. That's so cool. And then lastly, we get a new ED, Nani ga Warai, sung by the ever-positive, supportive, and backbone of the band, Najika Ichiji, or Suzushiro Sayumi as the voice actress. Yeah, I was like, I couldn't figure out if that was Najika singing or not, because I was like, this doesn't sound like Kito's voice, doesn't sound like Ryo's voice, but it was Najika, so, which is so fitting for episode 8, right? So fitting. Kumire says for episode 8, fun fact, Keiichiro Saito, the main director of the show, was also the main director of Frieren. He did the same amazing directing of episode 8 in both shows, dropping the title with brilliant storytelling in it. Yeah, I'm not going to spoil Frieren Beyond Journey's End, except to say that you should go watch that if you've not. There's reactions on the channel. You should go check that out. It's a really good show, but that's super cool that it was the same director. And now that you mention it, I'm thinking of that episode of Frieren and some of the choices made that I'm like, yeah, that checks out. Now, All Cats had a really cool comment. They said, I've always found it interesting that most reactors don't seem to notice all the mistakes they're making in the first song. Now, before I continue with this comment, I will say I did comment back to them being like, look, I can understand why most reactors don't know because we're not musically inclined, or at least I'm not. I told them, I was like, my music program was cut in the 7th grade. We stopped learning about music in the 7th grade, which for me was like 30 years ago. So it's been like nearly 30 years. I don't know music. I barely can play piano, maybe a few notes, but that's it. But I can't read sheet music. I don't know. So I feel like if you're not in tuned in that environment, you just aren't privy to it. It's kind of like when I see mistakes as far as like cattle and stuff and livestock in anime, and I'm like, well, it's actually not like that. I feel the same way, but how would they know? If you're watching casually and you have no clue about livestock, you wouldn't even know. And so it felt like one of those moments. I'm a musician who plays live sometimes, and the first time I watched the show, I was like, oh God, they're choking so bad. I guess it goes to show that all people who tell me all the mistakes I agonize over in a performance aren't that big of a deal are telling the truth. I mean, yeah, I feel like we are way worse critics of ourselves than anybody else can be. Like, we will pick out a mistake that we make before anybody else does, right? And so I think that's really good to notice. But also, unless you are in that environment all the time, you probably don't notice it as much. So, that can be good and bad. But I like that people who watch this show, some of them are as musically inclined as some of y'all commenting, because that's cool. That means you get a deeper appreciation of it than someone like me who's not as musically inclined. So I think that's really neat. And finally, Liv says for episode 8, I'm not sure if anyone has mentioned yet. And I know you're definitely not planning on reading the manga for this show. No, because season 2 is coming out. But the author released a special chapter to coincide with the release of this episode specifically that expands more on the Ichiji sisters' history. It requires pretty much no context aside from what you've seen from the show so far, and it works as a perfect standalone chapter if you want to check it out. Yeah, I'm not planning on reading the manga just because we've already got a season 2 confirmed. It's coming, so I can wait, till next year to watch that. That's not a big deal. I did tell Liv that I am not opposed to reading that chapter, like, alongside episode 12 when we get to it. I may ask Discord or try to look up that chapter and react to it along with it, since it's something that's related to, this series. But I'm already on episode 10, so I'll probably just wait till episode 12 to look at that chapter. But I told them if they wanted to share a link to me, to it in the comments or in the Discord, that would be awesome. So maybe we'll check out that chapter with episode 12 when we get to it. We shall see. But anyway, I have talked enough. I've talked for 8 minutes, and we need to get started with this chapter. So I'm super excited. I hope you all are as well. Thank you so much for all of the comments and kind words, and for enjoying the reactions and discussions. This series is such a gem. It is such a joy, and it just gives me, like, I'm going to be honest, I woke up feeling miserable today, and it's not sickness, it's just part of being a lady. So I have felt really crummy today, but I'm starting to feel better, and I was like, I want to watch something, but what do I want to watch? And then I was like, instantly, first thing that came to my mind was Bocchi the Rock. I was like, if I'm going to feel better and have a good laugh, it's going to be from Bocchi. So that's what we're going to do. But I've got myself some soda. I've got myself all set and ready to go. So I'm excited to dive into this episode. I hope you all are as well. So we're not going to waste any more time. We're going to dive into episode 10 of Bocchi the Rock. Beach episode was last week. Let's see what we get this week. And we're going to do that here in 3, 2, 1, and let's go. Well, what a cliffhanger for the penultimate episode. This was a great episode. This episode was not as comedic as last week with the beach episode for sure, but it was still funny. But I feel like we needed a little bit of grounding with Bocchi, because this is the whole idea of the culture festival is a big leap for Bocchi. It truly is. It is a step for our girl. And I feel like it is a big step in a lot of ways that maybe we didn't talk about last week that we need to. But of course, her going missing, leaving us with a classic cliffhanger before the penultimate episode of the season. Why would we be surprised? So we need to talk about this. But yeah, so I love Bocchi's imagination of seeing like the band we scheduled can't perform. Who's our replacement? And she's like, I forget the name. It's the girl from class 2. And she's like, the name's Godo. I was waiting for her to do like a James Bond moment where she's like, the name's Godo, Hitori Godo, or like, you know, the name's The Rock, Bocchi the Rock, or something similar to that. But yeah, I love in Bocchi's mind, she is the star, she's the diva, she's the standout. What I love about that is because it makes it to where when Kita signs them up for the Culture Festival, or when Nijika's all about it, when Rio's like, yeah, we should do it. If Bocchi was afraid, what I like about this series, and we're on episode 10 of season 1, what I like about this series is that if Bocchi was super shy and introverted, and in her heart of hearts, she didn't think she was good enough to be on stage, and she really did not see herself as a performer, then it would kind of feel a little bit sad if her bandmates were pressuring her to perform. It would be one of those things, I guess, what I was expecting out of this series when I started it was that Bocchi would be this kind of shut-in that practiced the guitar but was like a prodigy, and then all the other people found out about it and they're like, you need to get on stage, you need to get to perform, and they were trying to pressure her into performing, and she really didn't want to. She just happened to be talented. What I like that this series does that is a complete subversion of that is that they make it to where she wants to be a star. She wants the clout. She wants the fame, but she just happens to have crippling social anxiety and she's working through it. And our girl has grown so much since episode 1. She has grown so much while staying true to herself. And I think that that's very commendable. But yeah, I really, really like that. I love the people that are crying in the stands. And then there's, as they're playing, they're like, they're just like, oh, what do they say? Like a national treasure. You're a living national treasure as somebody's like trying to get up on the stage and everything. That part was hilarious. But yeah, and then she wakes up and she's like, oh yeah, what are we doing? And they did like 6 votes for a haunted house, 2 for a candy shop. She's like, I think I was in the homeroom and they started talking about festival project ideas. Everything after the word unity comes up as a blank. She passed out after the word unity. So their project ends up being a maid and butler cafe, which is Bocchi's nightmare. Why would she want to dress up as a maid? I did like her idea of a grave cafe this way to the afterlife. I thought that was hilarious. Afterlife for 2, souvenirs from the grave available. I would be all about that. Like a haunted house. Girl, she would have been great at that. She could just like been one of those. Bocchi, if they did a haunted house, she would have been one of those like figures that stands on the wall and has the polka dots. They're like dressed in all black and they have the glow in the dark polka dots and they're in the polka dot room and then they come out and grab people. Bocchi'd be perfect for that. That'd be great. That would have worked out wonderful, but no. So it says if anyone wants to perform on the second day of the Culture Festival, you just got to turn in your band. And she's like, okay, so apparently they will let Rio and Nijika come in and perform with them as a band, which is pretty cool, right? I mean, and I love that she goes back. She's like, I daydreamed about 1,000 times back in middle school. And she's like, you feeling the hype arena? It reminded me when she came into the restaurant that Rio was in being like, how we doing, fellow commuters? Fellow dinner goers? You feeling the hype arena? Like, girl, I get Bocchi's daydreaming. I've done it too. You just imagine how something's going to work out. I'm right there with her. She's like, my band is not for fun and games. Like, if somebody from our class played, they'd be the coolest person ever. And the moment she heard that, her brain went into overdrive and she filled out the form without even, she blacked out. She was like Will Ferrell during that one, I don't know if it's not dodgeball, but it was one thing where they were, oh God, like, I forget what it is, but it's the one Will Ferrell movie where he like is doing the debate and stuff. And then he's like, I blacked out. What happened? You know, but anyway, old school, that's it. It's old school. But anyway, so she fills out for the second day, for the October 2nd, for the talent show. And she's like, how did I end up in the student council room? How did I fill out this band paper? Who wrote all this? And it was her. She did all that. She got the courage in a whirlwind of, as she calls it, lust. Filled out the form and she's like, oh good, the lust is fading. I almost made a huge mistake turning that form in. But she really wanted to. I feel like her making the form is a sign that she wants to do this. She is, her body and her mind and her heart are not fully in balance, but she wants to do this. And so I feel like that's why Kita turning in the form isn't like the worst thing ever, because she wanted that. So the episode's called After Dark, which I feel like is a reference to them going to see Kikuri's band. The unfamiliar ceiling, I wondered, was that a Neon Genesis reference? I feel like it was a Neon Genesis Shinji reference. It felt like it. Maybe I'm wrong, but it felt like it. But yeah, so Kita shows up. I'm glad Kita's visiting with her, because ever since the one episode where Kita's like, I need to visit her at school more often, I was waiting for it to happen. One thing I like about Kita is that whenever Bocchi's like, oh, no, leave me alone, I'm fine, you've got friends you can hang out with, Kita's like, well, I could cancel, it's fine. I feel like Kita's friends and her, they're not those type of friends that, like, if you don't hang out with them 24/7, they're going to be mad. I don't think they're those type of friends. I think she hangs out with a lot of friend groups, and if she gets caught up in something else, they're all chill about it. So I thought that was okay. I liked that. And I liked that Bocchi, I also like that she didn't pressure Bocchi too much when she, said she wanted to be alone. She let her be alone. But Bocchi is also very self-aware that if Kita finds out about something that's exciting, like a concert, she'd get that like sparkly eyes, and she's like, I have to avoid that at all cost. Didn't work. She ended up signing them up anyway. So there's that. But that was freaking hilarious. She's like, I'll be fine. And so she asks her to leave her alone. She's like, I'd like to perform, but I've barely done a real concert, so it's still very scary. And look, there are pros and cons. Like, on the one hand, there was a part of me watching this episode that was like, oh, come on, Bocchi, you've performed in front of a concert at a club. Like, you can handle a school talent show. But Bocchi brings up a really good point that not only is a school talent show in front of people that you see every day, that if you bomb, you're going to be like, she already barely likes going to school anyway. If she bombs in front of all of her classmates, like, she's never going to want to go back. And also, the club was in front of like 8 people. And this is in front of an entire assembly. So the crowds and the vibe are completely different. And so I can absolutely understand. It's kind of like when you teach as an instructor. Like, I teach an English class that every student is required to take, but I've also taught a creative writing class that is an elective that people choose to take. And so the creative writing class is kind of like performing at the bar, where people are choosing to be there. They've bought the ticket, they've chose to be there, they paid for the class, it's an elective, it's not required. So the vibe with that group of students is often like the vibe of the people at the bar. They're paying to see you, they are supportive, there are no enemies here. They're paying to be there, and the vibe is totally different. Whereas an English class that everybody has to take, some people don't like English. Even though I love it, some people hate it. I'm aware of that as an instructor. So some of them are entering that class being like, I hate every second of this. I just want to get it done. Some people are at that school assembly for the culture festival like, I don't want to be here, but I have to be. So the vibe is different. The stakes are different. And the way you approach those two venues are different. So it's going to be interesting to see how the support and how the concert goes down, because I'm sure that by episode 12 we're going to get the concert. I feel like episode 11, I feel like next week, penultimate episode, is finding Bocchi, convincing her we're going to do this, it's going to be fine, the band's here for you, and I feel like episode 12 is going to be the concert. That's my thoughts. I could be wrong. We will find out if I'm wrong, but I feel like that's going to be the case. But yeah, she said, and Bocchi tries to tell herself all the performers in a high school culture festival, they're all amateurs. So that is the one thing, the one pro, as opposed to the concert venue. At the concert venue, they're all bands. Like, they're all trying to go pro, or they are pro. So there is a talent level there that, if you've watched a high school talent show before, you know. I've been the judge at a high school talent show. When I was a substitute teacher, they asked me to judge like the high school talent show, and I was like, okay. And yeah, there was one band there that performed that I was like, oh, you guys, it was a group of guys, and I'm like, you guys do this on the side. Like, outside of school, you guys probably go to like different little gigs and perform. So, and they were good. They were a good little rock cover band. It was great. But then there was others that just got up and sang like a generic song, and you're like, you're just doing this for fun. So you would think that would be all amateurs. I love when she checks out the phone to see like I wonder what the vibe is like for the culture festival. Girl, you knew, and said, y'all, hipster kid. And it's like class unity, first page of youth, comrades, friends to the end, shining bonds, joyous cheers, classmate encouragement, class unity. Like it just gets Bocchi. She gets like a combo punch. It was like Mortal Kombat KO instantly. She's like, I couldn't even watch the concert. I'm so worn out. Poor girl. Will she come on stage in a mango box? This is the ultimate question. But yeah, I like that she imagines Najika and Rio coming out and Kita coming out and then getting all the praise. She sells herself so short saying that she's not going to get anything. I hope that it's like the movie Napoleon Dynamite, where the kids don't expect much from her and she comes on stage, does her moves, and everybody's like, oh, okay. And then it turns out working out for her. I hope so. But she talks herself out of it, and then she asks, I like when she immediately goes to work, and she's like, good morning, manager, even though it's after school. And she immediately gets in the trash can, and Seika's like, what are you doing? I just love her instant reflexes to get in the trash can, and Seika's like, get out of there. I like that a PA-san's like, I didn't even finish school. I'm like, girl, okay. So they tell him about the band venue. Of course, Nishika's up to it. Nishika's a forever optimist. And she's like, oh, I did this in middle school and it's great. And Rio's like, yeah, I played obscure songs in my middle school talent show and I bombed with the audience. It still haunts me to this day. I do like that Rio's personality, though, is where she kind of overcomes it. She's like, yeah, I bombed, but it's fine. We're all good. I'm like, okay, cool. She played obscure songs and totally bombed. I could see that. She seems like somebody who would listen to Kimya Dawson or something. I listened to her when I was in college, and she's kind of obscure. I could see that. And she's like, I've never played with Rio at a culture festival. We just recently formed the band. And they do admit it would be nice to play their original songs somewhere else. I like that Bocchi imagines them getting expelled, and then we have this disciplinary notice. Class 1-2, Hitori Goto, reason for reprimand for singing a song with extremely depressing lyrics at a culture festival intended to hype people up. And the aforementioned is officially expelled under Article 50 of the school code. I love that she depressed the audience so much she got expelled. That's freaking hilarious. Poor girl. There's a chance or likelihood you'll be playing in front of a large crowd. So Rio understands. She's like, take your time, because she's like, I don't want you to have regrets, but also this is a big step for you. So I understand why you would be nervous. And yeah, it is a huge step for Bocchi. Like, as far as character development goes, huge step. But I like the idea of, would you regret not playing? And for Bocchi, a lot of her high school, I mean, episode 1, Bocchi was like, I regret that I didn't do all the things I thought I was going to in middle school. And now I'm already in high school, and I've just kind of like piddled away all this time without doing anything. So I like that Seika's like, really, you're not helping out matters by talking about how much you bombed Rio. Just make sure you don't have regrets. I like she's just rolling back and forth, and then she hits herself against her drawer. Bless her heart. She's like, I just can't do it. I thought I could do it yesterday, but I can't. And that's when Kita's like, guess what I did? It cuts to this one thing. It says, skyrocketing to fame. Let's look into the members of the Kasoku band. The unexpected past of the super popular guitarist Hitori Goto, whose cool personality, skillful playing, and raw lyrics have captured the hearts of fans. Question, did you know your high school classmate Hitori Goto had become a famous guitarist? I love this. And they have these people on this imaginary phone call years later. Good, Goto-san was in a band back then. I love how Bocchi imagines herself with the wine glass and the beads and her hair in this super cute little bun with the black bow. The black bow kind of looking like the one that Kukuka, our bassist, wears. And then the pearls draped over her guitar. I love it. I also love kind of the vibes of Goto just being with her guitar. I should have gotten her autograph. And she's like, now that I've got a plan in mind, I don't feel so bad about it. If we want to talk about gags, the gag of Kita telling Bocchi that she turned in the form and Bocchi's face immediately turning into something out of Pablo Picasso, the former art major in me was living, and then it transforming from Picasso to Edward Munch's The Scream. living. That was the funniest gag of the episode to me. I loved that. And then she's in a coffin. And I like that now it's Kita's turn to wear the little cardboard sign that says, I'm a criminal because I've murdered Bocchi. Hilarious. Hilarious. But you can't back out now, even though Kita's like, I'll try to talk. And like just in time, as any mentor would, that's when Heroi shows up just in time to be like, well, you guys got this coffin here. Give me free booze. I love Seika's like, piss off. Man, Najika becoming cold in that one moment, like her sister. I was like, oh, so she can be like her sister. Oh my. Like, tell your sister to be nicer. And she's like, kindly depart. We're about to be open for business. Like, damn, Najika can be cold. And that's actually kind of terrifying. But I love that Kikui, I love that our bassist, I'm going to get her name wrong. I love that our bassist, she's like, I want you to come watch us perform because my band's playing a gig. And I like that it leads her to later telling Bocchi, being like, hey, I used to be just like you, which now makes sense of why she kind of latched onto Bocchi from the start. She saw Bocchi and she saw herself in Bocchi. She's like, I used to be like you. I used to be terrified. Now, what I do like that she says is she makes the comment that she started drinking to ease her nerves to get through concerts, and the drinking has just, made her become a semi-functional alcoholic. But I like that she says, look, Bocchi, you got through the concert outside and the first band performance, and you didn't need any alcohol at all, so you're a step ahead of me. You can do this. So I like that she said that. That was really good. But I like that she gave them the tickets so that Bocchi could come see her perform and be like, look, I used to be just like you, and now look what I can do. You can do that too. But you don't have to go down the path I went down, but I know where you're coming from, and you can make it. If I can make it, you can make it. Like, I love that. I love her coming to Bocchi with that. Also, I don't know. I just love her aesthetic with the black nails and the black varsity jacket and the black bow and the green dress and the sandals. I just love the aesthetic. I would cosplay in that, but after this last con I went to, I don't think I could be in those sandals all day. Unless they were just regular sandals, not the ones that are like the traditional Japanese sandals. Girl, I couldn't walk around all day like that. No. But yeah, then everybody's like, why are you asking for free booze and handouts if you're doing so well? The answer is because she keeps destroying things on her set and her manager keeps her paying for them, so that's where all her money goes. But yeah, I think it's super cool that she has all these fans. I do like that Seika makes our bassist and Rio pay Bocchi back, and they both have like the cat ears when they do it. I think that's super cute. She's like, pay them back now. And I like the one Rio owes the same amount as our bassist does, just with change, you garbage humans. So yeah, she asked her to come see them. She's like, no biggie, let's go to Shinjuku. Her band's called Sick Hack, which is hilarious because it's like, are you gonna hack up a lung and then she's sick? Yeah. And Bocchi has many a moment of questioning whether she's going to go or not. But I also like that we get to see another concert venue, and it's a lot different than the Starry. I like that the jolt is a little bit different. I also like when they pass by the table and they see the people like smoking in the club. They all look really edgy. The one girl's got a damn beret, which is hilarious. The other person just sitting there smoking a cigarette. And then the band members come out. I love that they're all the primary colors. I mean, our bassist is a little bit of a different color. It has like magenta instead of red. But then you have Eliza, who's from England, who's the blonde guitarist. And then you have the drummer who has the dark blue hair, like Rio. I love it. Their manager, Geen, what is his voice actor? I've heard Geen's voice actor before. Voice actor, Bocchi the Rock. Who is their voice actor? I want to know who it is. Find me the voice actor. No, I want to find. I want to say, what is Geen? Geen. Give me your voice actor. Okay, is Katsuyuki Miura. Oh, okay. Have they been in anything? Yes, okay. Who has Katsuyuki Miura voice that I would have known from a series I've seen? Okay, Bocchi. Let me see here. Oh, they have actually not been in a whole lot. Their voice sounded very familiar. How interesting. Oh, they were in Skip to Loafer. Okay. But they were just like a supporting role in Skip to Loafer. They've really not been in anything else. They have a really good voice. I liked their voice a lot. I thought I recognized it from somewhere else, but apparently not. Okay. Gein's voice sounded very familiar, but he's only been a supporting role in Skip to Loafer. Interesting. I hope he gets more roles because he has a really good voice. But yeah, I like his appearance with the ponytail. When she called him old, I was like, dude, he's 37. He's the same age as me. Leave him alone. But yeah, he looks like a punk rocker who doesn't sleep, which can relate. So yeah, he's a nice old guy with the heart of a pure maiden. He's like, I'm not old. So yeah, also Eliza, she very much, when their band came out for the opening number, I got Scott Pilgrim versus the World vibes. I got the Clash at Demon Head. I got those vibes. Also, Eliza kind of has a Envy Adams vibe to her, but she seems really sweet, right? And then Shima is the drummer, and she seems pretty cool. I love her. And she's like, this is my 3rd year in Japan. Girl speaks really good Japanese for that. I came to Japan for Komiket. I'm like, what is Komiket? I want to know. So Komiket is a comic market where they sell a doujinshi convention. Okay, I have heard of Komiket. Okay, yes, so it's where you can get a bunch of doujinshi and everything. Okay, and then she just decided to stay there because she wants to like do songs for anime. Okay, cool, nice. Okay, and then she has like a couple that she ships, a Yuri couple. Get it, girl. All right. Eliza's always saying Annie songs are Japan's real bleeding edge sound. I mean, as someone who really only knows city pop and anime OPs and EDs, I would agree with that. But I'm coming at like Eliza from a foreigner's perspective. But yeah, the vibe at this concert venue is totally different. Like there was a line, there's like 200 people there. I like they all get juice. I love that Rio, who's clearly been there before, she's just sitting back like, oh, you normies. Oh, is this your first time at this venue? I'm the cool fan of the band that doesn't need to be all hyped up and everything. I was like, oh, Rio, come on. I was expecting her to be in the front ready to crowd surf. She's like, I'm not like you sheeple. And then she talks about their style. So they do psychedelic rock, a genre sped in the 1960s as a musical expression of drug-induced hallucinations. I'm like, whose influence led to many progressive rock bands getting their start. I think of, when I think of psychedelic rock, I think of the song White Rabbit by Jefferson Airplane. I think of that song. Jefferson Airplane immediately makes me think of psychedelic rock. And so that's where I'm getting like my mind from, especially because the lead singer is like, you know, a female artist. But yeah, and then they start. Kita opened up a door when she was like, I want to learn about psychedelic rock. And Najika's like, you've opened a window. And Rio's like, I'm ready to bring in all my CDs and get you educated, girl. Like, that was really cute. But yeah, and then they come on stage and our bassist is the lead singer. I love it. I loved the animation of the concert, like the drummer hitting like all the beats. And then you had Eliza on the guitar and she looks so beautiful. I love the kimono hanging off her shoulders. And then you had the bassist singing and just all her charisma getting everybody hyped up. Like, I love it. And then her like crowd surfing, like she just oozes the charisma of a rock star. Like she just oozes the like, let's party, let's do it. But the thing is, she has to drink to do that because she's like Bocchi. She's so like socially awkward and scared that she has to do that in order to make it happen. And Bocchi doesn't have to do that, which has a leg up. I loved the shot of all the hands where the background was moving, all the red hands coming up to grab her. That part was super, super cool. But yeah, so they're backstage. Man, all the stickers on the wall, it looks so authentic. I love it. And she's like, what's got you down? And then Bocchi has the imposter syndrome where she's like, I don't think I could ever be like that. And that's what I love for our bassist to say, like, no, don't think that way. You've got imposter syndrome, but look, I was the same way you were. You just got to find a way to let that charisma and that inner star in you shine out. And she's like, you're already doing that. She's like, I imagined what my future was going to be like if I stayed the way I was. And I thought that's lame. And Bocchi immediately connects because last episode we have Bocchi doing the same thing, wondering if she was going to end up like in sales or something at a company. And she's like, no. She was like, I thought that was going to be lame. So I decided not to do that. She's like, I was scared stiff at first of going into a club or buying a bass. The whole reason I started drinking was to chill myself before our first concert. Everybody's scared doing something for the first time. But, if you need to take the edge off, you could have a drink. And Bocchi's like, I'm not old enough. She's like, well, but then you didn't have to, so you're going to be fine. I like Bocchi saying, I want you to come to our culture festival, see me perform. Like whether she wants to admit it or not, our drunk bassist is Bocchi's like support system in the weirdest way possible. And I kind of love it. I agree with Seika. She needs to cut back, but I do think that it's cool that she's, support for Bocchi. Now she got to sober up to get in that school, but I hope she comes to see her perform. She's like, that's the way. And then she punches the wall and Gein's like, okay, it's going to have a $100,000 yen on your tip to prepare the walls. And she's like, damn it. She's like, this is partly Bocchi's fault. So then they go to this restaurant afterwards, Dinathan's, which I'm sure is a parody of an actual restaurant. And I like that you have, it looks like Bocchi gets Salisbury steak, pasta for Kita. It looks like soup and fries for Nijika, and poor Rio has no money. So they're like, you don't get to bum money off people. I like her stomach growling so much. She's like, fine, here, have fries, you silly cat. Like she basically begs for everything. So they decide to make a set list, and they're going to have Bocchi's guitar solo in the middle of the three songs so that her and Kita can shine, which is fun. I like they don't start out with the guitar solo because as we found out from the Starry opening number, if Bocchi gets scared during the first number, she'll hopefully pick it back up for the second number and then knock it out of the park with the third song. So it seems like they're setting that up, that at first it's going to seem like it's going to be bad, like the Starry band number, but then maybe Bocchi's solo will be good. Maybe Bocchi's solo will be bad and the third number picks it up. I don't know how they're going to do it, but that seems like the setup they're getting ready for in the concert that hopefully will be in episode 12. And they're like, let's be aggressive. And like, Rio, are you trying to push your trauma on the rest of us by hoping that we don't bomb? Now, when Bocchi says guitar solo, I like that Kita, this series, thank you for having communication, because one of my least favorite tropes in anime is miscommunication. And that is not something that happens in this show. And I appreciate it because Kita's like, I'm sorry. I knew that you threw out the application, but I just wanted us to play, so I put it in there, which honestly, girl could have filled out an application and put it in for him anyway. It didn't have to be Bocchi's, but she went ahead and put Bocchi's in. But I like that we had in a previous episode, Nijika at the vending machine saying that she didn't want to push Bocchi into doing something and she was sorry. And now we have Kita saying, hey, I didn't want to push you into this, but I hope it's okay. And Bocchi's like, no, I actually wanted this. I was going to have regrets, and you kept that from happening. I don't know if they're going to have Rio apologize to Bocchi, maybe for giving her the guitar solo or something. I don't know if they're going to do that or not, but I'll be curious to see how that goes. But I'm glad they have this conversation, and Bocchi's like, I really wanted to play, but I was too scared, and luckily you turned in the sheet, and hopefully we'll make this concert a success. I love her grabbing Bocchi's hand. Like I said last episode, I get why y'all ship them. I love that she grabs Bocchi's hand and it's like all pink and red. It's super cute. I'm going to work even harder at practice than ever. I'm going to be honest with y'all. Every time I see the blue, the red, the yellow, the pink, I do think of Puella Magi Modica Magica. I do think of it. I think of it a lot. And so I have to restrain myself, We don't have a purple person unless you count the bassist as that, but yeah, the truth is I wanted Goto to perform at the Culture Festival. And what does she say there? I really wanted her to perform because Goto-san is... Now, the question is, was she about to say that she knows that Goto is Guitar Hero? or because Goto is the star, or because Goto's amazing. It's either one of two things. Either she was going to reveal that she knows, like Najika, that Goto is Guitar Hero-san, or she just thinks that Goto is amazing and that's why she wanted her to perform. We don't know for sure yet. We don't know. That's going to be remaining to be seen. So yeah, so she asked Rio to coach her on guitar after work because Bocchi has practice to focus on her own. And she wants to get better and surprise her. And Nishika's like, oh, come on. And Rio's like, I ain't cheap. I need money to buy food. And so at the makeup lessons, she says that Bocchi has makeup lessons she has to worry about. Then we have the Shuka Festival getting announced. And they're like, Bocchi's missing. And I'm like, I can't imagine that Bocchi would get a little bit scared on the opening day. But maybe it's not as bad as we think. Maybe it's a misnomer. Maybe it's a red herring. They're making us think that Bocchi's gotten cold feet and ran away, and it's going to turn out to be totally opposite, and we're just going to have to wait and see next episode. I can't believe we're already on the penultimate episode. I would be sad, but I know that we have season 2, and that makes me happy, so... Anyway, this was a really, really good episode of Bocchi the Rock, but what else is new? So I'm excited to hear your comments down below. I hope you all have a wonderful week. Please stay safe, take care, don't get too drunk. And I'll be back next week as we have the penultimate episode of Bocchi the Rock. And I'll see you then. Bye!